Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, it looks as though the troubles, the travails of Senator Adeleke is a war without end. Now, to go back a bit, Senator Adeleke, you will recall, got that judgment to say that he was the rightful governor of Osun State and he was celebrating with his nephew Davido. I think I've done videos on this. So now, fresh off that celebration, still in the throes of that celebration, and Abuja court then decided that Senator Adeleke was not even qualified to have been a candidate in that election because he did not meet the statutory requirement of INEC, i.e. having a school certificate, and it was then judged that the certificate that he presented was a forgery and all that. The judge in that case, Justice Uthman Musa, his name was, he actually dug into this. He dug into this to the point that Senator Adeleke's lawyers felt that he went beyond the call of duty because he went beyond the evidence that was presented to him to dig beyond that evidence. So now, Senator Adeleke is now caught in the courts, as I always thought he would be. So now, we now have a new development. So let me bring you this new development and then we'll carry on. We didn't see Adeleke in exam halls. This is what NECO supervisors told the court. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja on Wednesday resumed the trial on examination malpractices involving Senator Ademola Adeleke, governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP). During the trial, two supervisors of NECO who testified said they did not see the lawmaker at the examination center. Recall that the Nigeria Police Force had, in October 2018, arraigned Adeleke alongside 4 others over allegations of examination malpractice. They were accused as registering as students of Ojo Aro Community Grammar School in Osun State to sit for the 2017 NECO O-level examination. Other accused are Aregbesola Mofutau, the school principal, Badamosi Ojo, the school registrar, Dari Olatope, a teacher, and Sikiru Adeleke, the senator's cousin. At the resumed hearing on Wednesday, Emmanuel Adeshoda and Enoch Adigun, the NECO officials who invigilated the said examination, said they did not see the senator in the examination hall. They were led in evidence by a Simon Lowe, a prosecutor. Adeshola said he would have recognized Adeleke, who is a public figure, if he was in the examination hall, adding that there were 4 elderly students in the hall. I could not identify any students without the school album since it was my first time there, so the principal and the registrar helped me to identify them as I used the list I had to call the students into the hall, Adeshola said. I did not see any of the defendants in the examination hall. Senator Adeleke was not in the examination hall. He was a public figure, so I would have recognized him. Adigun, the second witness, said he saw Sikiru Adeleke, the second defendant, but did not see the senator in the examination hall while he was invigilating. I was surprised to see him, that is Sikiru Adeleke, because he was the most mature student in the hall. But when I checked and saw he had an identity card duly stamped by the school, I had to allow him write the examination, Adigun said. Iyong Ikwo, the judge, had adjourned the case till June 10 and 11 for further hearing. So that is the state of play regarding Senator Adeleke's school certificate and all that. So this is the situation that he is now contending with. He and his nephew Davido, who have been celebrating a minor victory, but then not paying heed to the war to come. So this is now the state of play with Senator Adeleke. Round 2 to the government and the Osun State governor, it's never really likely to happen. He's never really going to get that seat. And I, for one, I'm not really keen for him to get that seat because he's a dunce. Because he is a dunce, I don't want him to get that seat. But then if he was elected by the people of Osun State, what does it matter what I think? What does it matter what anyone thinks if the people of Osun State have stated that this is the person that they want to govern them? So this is really where it is with Senator Adeleke. I don't really know how this is going to play out, but usually within the Nigerian setting, it only really goes in one direction, and is usually in the direction of the powers that be. And since the powers that be in Nigeria are the APC government at the moment, then really you cannot really see it boding well for Senator Adeleke, because the PDP were very quick to celebrate this as a victory. I recall that Atiku even piped up to congratulate Adeleke on this victory, because he thought that would then portend, that bodes well for his own upcoming appearance with the electoral panel. But then this is never really something that was ever really going to hold. And really, there are several layers to this. One, there's the judgment that he got, that he was elected, and that should hold, because if he was elected, then that should hold. And the reason why he wasn't in seat now, that why he's not in seat now, was because that election was rigged. Everybody openly, if they don't openly admit, they are openly aware that that election was rigged, and it was rigged. There's absolutely no question about that. So if he was rigged at that post, then he should get that post. But then if he's not qualified by the statutory requirements of the electoral governing body, then what reason would he have to even be in the running in the first place? But then he was in the running. So if he was in the running, then he would have presented to INEC to state that I meet with the requirements of your statutes. So if he had presented to INEC to say that he met with the requirements of their statute, and INEC it then behoves on them to investigate that he does meet, because that is their job. So if he has presented and they had investigated and they have found him fit and proper, and then he had been allowed then to proceed, because you remember this guy would have gone through 2 layers of at least scrutiny before he was had his name before he had his name rather on the ballot box. He would have gone through 2 layers of scrutiny. One, he would have been scrutinized by his party to see that he meets with the requirements, because they don't want to present him to INEC and then have him thrown out. So he would have had to have done that. Then he would have had to have presented to INEC, who are an independent arbitrator, an independent body that have no ox to grind. So he would have presented to them as well, and they would have had to have had a look at his presentation, and his presentation really is to say that he meets with the requirements, submitting all the documentations that they do require that to prove that he does meet. So he would have needed to have done that as well. So he would have done that, and INEC would have ticked him off as well. So he's been ticked off twice as being fit and proper, one by his party, and I'm not saying, you cannot say that his party will just let him go. They can't just let him go, because if they just let him go, they know that INEC will throw him back, and that will be an embarrassment to them. So they couldn't have just let him go. So they have scrutinized him before they put him forward. So having scrutinized him and put him forward, and then having subsequently been scrutinized by INEC and been put forward, and then having then had also WAEC then stating that this guy did sit an exam, and the minimum requirement for running for an elective post in Nigeria is an O-level school certificate. That is the minimum, that's the baseline. So having done all this, how then can you then turn around and then say that he's not qualified? Because they've had all sorts of affidavit from WAEC, and that was presented to that Justice Uthman. But then you see this now playing out in a secondary court, and this guy is going to be tied up in the courts really for this foreseeable. First, he's going to do the rounds around his certificate before he then goes to do the rounds around his qualification. I mean, rather not his qualification, because that's already been done. So he'll do the rounds for the qualification, election, then it have to go do the rounds for then having to get his mandate back off this guy. It's a long haul, and it's a grueling haul, and it's an expensive haul. And then if you think also that the person in seat at the moment, whoever the governor of Osun State is, he has all of the apparatus of the state to fight, and then he has the backing of the ruling party as well, and he has the backing of President Buhari as well. So all of that weight is weighed against Senator Adeleke, and we all know that Buhari doesn't really fight fair. He just takes it and that's it. He just takes it and he owns it and that's it. So really all of the things are weighed up against this Senator Adeleke. But do I really feel sorry for him? No, I don't feel sorry for him personally, because like I said, I see him as a dunce. He's a certifiable idiot dancing like a fool. You know, you don't really want that sort of a person in charge of a sovereign state. You don't want that at all, because he's the least qualified person to be in that post. So I don't feel sorry for him at all. But my empathy is with the process, because if the people of Osun State are saying this is what they want, then what they want, it should be what they get. That is what democracy is. Democracy is the rule of the numbers. So if the numbers weigh in your favor, then you get to go. So if the numbers weigh in his favor, then he gets to go in that seat, because that is what the people want, irrespective of what I think, irrespective of what you think, and irrespective of what some idiot Uthman in Abuja thinks, irrespective of all of that. And he has been investigated and found to be fit to run. So if he was investigated and found to be fit to run, then that is with INEC, not with him, because he presented himself and they gave him the go-ahead. So now the fight for that mandate is going to be a long and brutal one for Senator Adeleke, absolutely no question about that. But this is the next round in a series of rounds that is going to be back and forth between the Osun State government and Senator Adeleke and Davido. So this is a state of play now. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on both the content of this article that I read to you and my summation of it, my opinions on it as well? What are your opinions? Let's share opinions on Senator Adeleke and the electoral process in Nigeria in the comment section. But before we go have that conversation, click on the red subscribe button so it goes gray, the bell button as well so you are notified as soon as I drop a new video. Then once you've done both, come meet me in the comment section so we can have this important conversation. So I'll leave you here, meet you in the comment section, but for now I'll say peace.